Welcome to lesson 7, which is masking. What is masking, I hear you say? Well, I'm glad you asked. Masking is basically the same thing that it is in Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, where you isolate certain sections of the images by drawing one shape over another to make a mask, essentially. So masking is very useful if you want to blend sections of an image on top of each other for visual effect, or you might want to wipe on an overlay, place text over the top, or you might want to get even more technical and, for example, click around a running man on an athletics track and only have the man and keying out the background. A very long way to go about it, but if you have got 3 weeks, it is possible as well. But in this demonstration, we're just going to keep it really simple. So let's just go down to our timeline here, and everything's turned off there at the moment. Let's turn on Film Strip. Now, one thing to remember with masking is it's basically done by, you can either pen tool certain shapes, customize your mask onto an image. So for example, you can go pen, oops, sorry. Make sure your image is selected, yep. Or masking won't work on an image unless you have it selected, obviously, so you can just go pen, like that, join up your points, undo that. Or you can just literally pick one of the shape tools, let's go star, and you can just mask out an image like that. Again, you can pull out the points too. You can have a lot of fun with masking. You can animate all the parts by keyframing. But yes, again, make sure whatever layer you are masking, that it is selected in the timeline. Otherwise, you're just going to draw random shapes on the timeline and no one will know what's going on. So another thing you'll notice too, if you unpack your menu here, is that you'll see a new masks menu too with all your controls there. So you can keyframe the path, the edge, which is the feather, obviously the opacity and the expansion. So it might, you might want sort of wider or thinner, depending on what your taste is or needs. So let's just literally select and delete that one. And let's start again. Now what we're going to do this time is we're going to wipe this image on from left to right, just like it was a transition that you'd find in your effects library or whatnot. This is something you'll probably use a bit when you're building presentations, basic slideshow and running information over images, things like that. So without further ado, let's click on our film strip once. Let's select the rectangle tool and just sort of hover over the image, and you can see that it already is masking for you. So let's just start it off the page. So draw a little rectangle off the page like that. Now unpack our mask, and we're going to make our first keyframe at 0. So put a keyframe in there. Our opening frame is no frame. Now let's go to 1 second here. By 1 second we want to have this wiped on. So to select the edges here and drag it across, you'll need to just go back to your everyday selection tool. Just click off the canvas once and click back on the mask on that panel there, and you'll notice that only these two curves or points are highlighted, allowing you to drag it across. If you hold down shift, it will stop it going off track like that. And there we go. So we've automatically punched in at 1 second. It's already drawn its keyframe in. As you know, it'll do that whatever position or move you make. That's good. So we've got a keyframe there. Let's hold that on the screen for 3 seconds. No need to make any changes yet. Now we're going to start our journey wiping back off the page. So we put a third keyframe in there at 3, which is basically the same as 2 here. And 4, we can either literally wipe it off again manually, or the little trick is, if we want it to return to where we started, you can just literally select the first one, make sure your cursor is lined up where you want to drop this keyframe, So yeah, you select, you go Command C to copy, Command V, you watch it, it'll paste right there. So that's pretty handy too if you want it exactly where it is. Very good to know if you want to keep the algorithms and the transitions as smooth and consistent as possible. Let's drag that back to the front. Let's have a look how this looks. Okay. And hit play. Oh, there we go. What's going on there? There we go. I was on the wrong one. We want it to be on our master canvas there, which is composition. Right. So we hit play, and you'll see it wipes on. And it wipes off. All followed by the keyframe. Let's watch that again. Now again, great things about After Effects. You might want the photocopier look again going on this one. You can just click on the film strip, copy and paste, for example, and just shift this back a little on the timeline, just to give you an idea of how you can layer masking on top of each image. You might want that for special film effect for some reason. So plenty of fun to be had with masking. That's just basic image masking there. Now, another thing to remember is, so let's just clear all those attributes, and because it's just like a normal vector box in Illustrator. So click off the page again if you want to change the shape of it. So if you want to do like an angled mask, for example, you can just literally click and drag, holding shift down, make a new keyframe there, and just repeat the steps. At 1 second we want it to perhaps, click off and on again, yeah, that's it. You want it to, you might only want it to go there and whack a couple of logos down there, I don't know, your choice. Don't let me stop you. Alright, keyframe that in, and let's just do what we did before. Good habit to get into, copy and paste your first to your last. And it will wipe on the angle. Very simple stuff. Let's clear all those, and let's clear that whole blue mask altogether, and just get rid of that. So click on the mask there. We want to start a new one now. Let's just say we want to do a bit of a Star Wars wipe, where we start with a little circle and we make it big. So again, just select your circle tool. You can start the first keyframe at 0. You might want the mask to be kind of there. It's a little tiny circle. Let's see if we can center that. Nice and center with our. Let's just get that full screen there, full bleed. That can be our first keyframe. And by 1 second we want to go select on this and scale it up. Oh, why aren't you scaling? What are you doing to me? Sorry kids. We want to have the mask selected, so let's go back to there. By clicking on that top square, you'll bring up a little bounding box there. That little top panel there with the double square is the one to click. And to bring this box up, holding shift, and just expanding to wherever you want it to go. So same principles can be applied with all the shapes, as you can see. Alright, so that's pretty cool. Now we want to copy and paste that there, and copy and paste this one back here as a wipe off, for example. That's basic. That's some basic shape masking there. Let's get rid of those. Let's get rid of that one altogether. Now, another very handy thing to be able to mask. Oops, our image has got a bit off centre there. Another very handy thing is masking on solids is going to come in very handy when you need to run stats or a bit of text. So again, you would just make a solid by new solid, black's fine for the purpose of this, and you would literally just unpack this, and let's just say we want the polygon this time, so we start it oops, let's just start it here, select and drag, so that's our 0 point, and we want it to polygon on, so click that again, double click to get your bounding box up to expand, and we want to, let's just say we want to wipe on there and run a bit of text. So again, you can see what's going to happen here. In comes the polygon. Now we want to be able to see the image under this, so let's just, I don't know, make the opacity, unpack our transform options, make the opacity something like that. This polygon looks horrendous, by the way. I hope you never use it. There's much better shape options, but for the purpose of this, you get the idea. So we can wipe on the polygon, and now we want to float a bit of text over. So pretty straightforward. The same thing again. Again, you've got flexibility to use any shapes. Let's just get rid of the polygon for a sec. Let's just try using handmade points. So just grab your pen tool and just draw, let's just say we want to draw a bit of a crazy triangle on an angle. So unpack that and we put a keyframe in on our path. Start 0 there. Go back to our selection tool and grab the edge that we want to pull across to about halfway. That's where we're going to run our stats. Leave it up there for, I don't know, 2 seconds, maybe 3 seconds. Plonk in another keyframe by clicking your button, and by 5 seconds we want it to go back to where it was at the start. So again, just click on that once and copy and paste it down there. So let's have a look how this looks. So not bad. Text will come up there and we'll wipe it off once we've got rid of our stat. And again, you can have fun with the algorithm of the masks by right clicking or control clicking. If you want to put a bit of easing on the end just to pull the brakes up, I always think it looks pretty nice. Try and make everything look as less jarring as possible, and more filmic and natural. Just whatever's easy on the eye when you're sort of looking at it back, because a lot of the native kind of moves will be pretty heavy on the eye, lots of strobing and whatnot. So that just makes it a little sweeter. It looks like someone's pushing a board over the page. You might want to even add some motion blur for even more filming effect by selecting a little motion blur on the timeline there. Obviously making sure this one is selected too, and that just softens the blow a little bit again. So good habits to get into, but I'm getting off topic. Now you can also mask, you can pretty much mask any layer you want, so you might want to mask your text as well. So let's just get a text, click on our text icon there and draw a box, and we want to say Larko, it's not Larko. Larko is a great teacher. Subject to, of course, here we go. Wonderful, just pull that up a bit, and all that lag. And let's just at least vertically align it. Oops, our cap lock's on, make sure that's not on. And again, we can make that a bit larger if we want. If we want the text to go larger, we can just scale it up. Center it. Okay, cool. So we might want to follow that line. So quite often you can just copy and paste by selecting your two moves down there from the other layer and making sure they're lined up on the point there, your start point, so you want them to match. You'll see that it's copy and pasted the mask attributes in, but they won't always be aligned because our text anchor point is different to our solid beneath it, so they might not they might not match up straight away or at all based on that, because it's thinking that it's masking a box instead of a text layer. So sometimes that's a good little cheats way to do it, other times it's not. But you can see here, just by the point of this exercise, that you can also wipe on text as well. You might be able to change the position of the mask to line up with the edge of the box, if it be your will. How you'll do that is, let's just say we click on our text layer there, and we literally just click back on that text layer and adjust the bounds to correspond to the black one. So we might want to put a keyframe there and have it make it right on the point. Make sure that lights up blue. That means you're right on the point. And line it up to the edge of the box. So that might be a bit cleaner. You can have a lot of fun with that. There are good methods and bad methods in doing it. I haven't necessarily shown you the greatest method, but I am just trying to demonstrate that you can mask text as well as background images, and they're pretty handy too. You might have you might want the mask to come from the top as well with your text, so you might want your background mask coming from left to right, and you might want a basic wipe down mask just created by a rectangle like so, path on 0, and wiping down like that. You have a lot of fun with it. You can do some really good things with masking. So that's another way to do things too. Okay, what else? Another good visual effect you can try is, let's just delete our text layer and our solid layer. You might want to make a copy of your film layer, for example. I like to call this the mirror effect. So what we're going to do is make a copy of your film strip. Let's scale this one up a little bit. Let's just make it 120. And we're going to try and create effect through masking that looks like the top layer is refracted through light, or a bit of a mirrored image. Let's even take it to 130 just for the point of the conversation. What we're going to do is we're going to create a little mask to come across this layer to sit above the bottom layer, and see what kind of effect we get there. So let's go back to 0, make sure our layer is selected and select rectangle. We're going to draw our mirror here, leave it off the page, so that's our first point. Oops, unpack your mask menu there and go mask path right there. By 1 second we want this to, oops, sorry kids, select your mask. You want to select the whole thing and move it. You just literally go down to the mask there and click on it once, and as you can see, it kind of magnifies as it scrolls across. So let's just put it on that side of the page. So what's going to happen is it's going to literally wipe over, and we want it to make it look like a piece of glass. So let's just leave it in the middle there for a second. It's go up to our effects and go, we're going to blur the top layer so it looks a bit kind of distorted. So let's just go Gauss, G-A-U-S, Gaussian blur, one of my favourites. Select and drag onto your top layer there, and up in the blur let's make it maybe something like that. Let's just call it 30, okay? Now we've blurred it out a little bit because we've changed the perspective technically as the eye sees it. Now let's also put a bit of drop shadow on so it looks like it's really sitting above the bottom layer. So grab our drop shadow and do the same thing, adjust accordingly. So where are we? Drop shadow turns up here. We might want maybe center our shadow. Distance, where are we? That's not really working by center. We're going to need to make a decision here. Just have a bit of fun with it. Just get something you like for the purpose of this. A bit darker maybe. Alright. Now, let's say we want to take a bit of colour out of this top image too. So let's go hue, drag hue on, also drag that on, maybe just run a bit of the saturation out of it by the slider there just to give it a bit more of a colour effect. You can go on forever with putting these effects on. I'm merely trying to demonstrate that you can just create some cool effects just with simple little moves like that. This is how it's going to look. So let's play. It goes a bit quick. Let's drag the transition out to 2 seconds. How's that? Okay, and so it's, you know, you might disagree, but it's supposed to look like a piece of glass going over the front of it and refracting what's behind it. And they're just cool little things you can have a bit of fun with masking. There will be more masking in future tutorials, but this is basically just how to get it done with your basic shapes. Now the last exercise we're going to try is just with the pen tool. So let's get rid of our top layer there, our mirror, go back to our original film strip, and with the pen tool we are going to just draw a random shape. So it might be a star, not a bad star there, D. Larkin. And we want to pull all the points out by 1 second. So always remember, punch in your original keyframe, and by, let's just say 2 seconds again, we want to drag these points out. That's not very easy to see with the green there, but you know, this is maybe the look. This is maybe the look you're going for. I don't know. You can do all sorts of things. You might want to trace the stake, for example, and just animate that. All possible with masking. So as we play it back, you can have some real fun with it. So that is masking in a nutshell, folks. See you for the next lesson.